Central.
At McGuire Air Force Base in New Jersey, 31 planes were flown to bases in North Dakota, Louisiana, Canada, Kansas, and Wisconsin so they wouldn't be damaged by Isabel's winds.
And to talk about winds, boy, there's a lot of wind here tonight on the coastal portions of North Carolina and southeast Virginia. Winds are gusting over 35 miles per hour. And those winds will only get stronger. High pressure to the north will see to it that it's windy up the coast, too, all the way into New England. So we've got problems up and down the east coast from Maine all the way to where Hurricane Isabel makes landfall tomorrow.
We're about to take a close look at your tropical update. Hello and welcome to the tropical update this hour. I'm Sandra Diaz.
And I'm Dave Schwartz. Weather Channel crew spent the day watching the approach of Isabel from the east coast.
That's right. In fact, as we take a look at this, our storm tracker, Jim Cantori, is out there tonight, and he reports from Kill Devil Hills, North Carolina.
Well, the steadier rain just continues to come on in here tonight. Rains with winds gusting 20 to 25 miles an hour. They will get toward tropical storm force overnight, and we expect conditions to go downhill. All evacuations are complete. Everybody who's going to stay needs to stay hunkered down. And remember, if you have to make a special trip, those bridges are going to get closed once those winds reach gale force. And that could easily be toward 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. Tomorrow, get ready to lose power here on the Outer Banks. We're expecting winds to gust to hurricane force. And we're going to have some trees and power lines possibly blown down by these winds. So get ready. Tomorrow definitely looks like the worst of the weather coming in mid-morning into early afternoon. You can see behind me here the dunes set up very, very nicely. That should protect us from the water. And we could be talking about seas as high as 14 feet coming in here, maybe even a little bit higher than that. Kitty Hawk, they're going to have some problems up the road. They have no dunes like this. And also down toward Hatteras Island, there will be considerable wash over the roads. We do not want you out on those roads. Conditions going downhill tomorrow, especially during the mid-morning and the early afternoon. Compliments of Isabel. Reporting from Kill Devil Hills tonight, I'm meteorologist Jim Cantori. Getting soaked.
Thanks, Jim, and Jim will be out there tomorrow. So when you tune in tomorrow, you will see him out here in North Carolina. There's the center, or the eye, if you will, a rather ragged eye of Hurricane Isabel. It's headed toward the north-northwest at 13 miles an hour. Still a powerful hurricane, Category 2 at 105 miles per hour. Right now, winds are topping at about 35 miles per hour here in North Carolina, but offshore, about 50 miles from that eye, winds have been clocked at 76 miles an hour in gusts. So there is a hurricane out there. And we've got winds gusty on the Delmarva Peninsula, even Cape May checking in at 29 miles per hour. Belmar, New Jersey, with a wind gust of 24 miles per hour. Here it comes. There it comes, just the beginning of what is going to be a washout tomorrow. And once again, wind, not only just along the coast, but into Philadelphia, Baltimore, Washington, Richmond, Raleigh, Durham, and then into the state of Pennsylvania and New York on Friday.
There's plenty more to come in the second hour of the Weather Channel Evening Edition West Coast as we continue to track Hurricane Isabel.
We all know Isabel's coming and evacuations are in effect. We'll have more next.
Evening Edition is sponsored by Chex Snack Mix. Get into the mix.
Welcome back, everyone. It's time for our tropical update. Hurricane Isabel, of course, our top story. Winds of 105 miles per hour, moving northwest at 14. Pressure 956 millibars. The center 155 miles south-southeast of Cape Hatteras, North Carolina. Now we'll get another update here in the next couple of hours. Let's show you the path. The path taking it very close to North Carolina early this afternoon. By early tomorrow morning, it'll be into Virginia. By Friday morning, all the way to Pennsylvania. So moving very quickly once it makes landfall. And it has increased its forward speed from last evening. Already starting to see some of that heavy rain making its way into eastern North Carolina, southern Virginia. Cape Hatteras, heavy rain, Elizabeth City. Unfortunately, we're going to see more of that for the next several hours, 8 to 12 inches worth, and of course, huge concern for flooding, not only here as it makes landfall, but even to the north of it. And then as it makes landfall and moves quickly into Pennsylvania, we've had a lot of rain here, flooding concerns here, so get prepared. Know what you're going to do. Turn around, don't around if you come across a flooded roadway. You should sit tight if you're in eastern North Carolina. We're going to see those winds, hurricane force, probably in the next several hours. already gusting to 52 miles per hour here in Elizabeth City, and even here into Virginia, starting to see the winds increase as high pressure to the north, increasing that pressure gradient. We're going to see those winds, even tropical storm force winds, as far north as Long Island today. Eastern North Carolina getting the brunt of it, though. 90-mile-per-hour winds expected here and higher as it makes landfall later on this morning or into early this afternoon. Now, again, the winds looking, again, up to 40 miles per hour here into Pennsylvania. Storm surge, of course, a big concern. 9 to 12-foot surge here, plus an additional maybe 10 to 12-foot waves on top of that. Again, we're expecting some flooding here. Nick?
Now we turn to Marshall Cease. And Marshall, tell us how your weather today will be tracking Isabel's progress.
Well, Nick, if you just get an idea from Kim, there's a lot of information to pass on. We've got Jim Cantori and Jeff Morrow, and they're going to join our live coverage team. They're in two of the places that could see the biggest impact as Isabel nears the Carolina coast. And Dr. John Neese will have the very latest on the storm's progress. And Dennis Smith tells you where travel plans will need to change, courtesy of the storm. Nick?
Hurricane Isabel put a high price on a commodity needed by people in harm's way. The Bloomberg Money Barometer looks at the economics of supply and demand.
Good morning. Homeowners in the path of Hurricane Isabel are caught in the middle of another storm as they try to buy plywood and safeguard windows and doors. The convergence of a housing boom and a rainy summer means demand for the paneling is high, and so is the price. Heavy rains in the southern U.S. since the beginning of this year have hindered timber harvesting by companies like Georgia Pacific and International Paper. The same weather has stalled home builders who are now trying to catch up with pent-up demand, which has been boosted by the lowest mortgage rates in 40 years. According to C.C. Crow Publications, which tracks the lumber industry, the wholesale price of a half-inch of plywood is up 89% last week from a year ago. At the retail level, a 4-foot by 8-foot sheet is now selling for about $19. While prices are high, paper and lumber companies say they'll have no problem meeting up with increased demand due to Hurricane Isabel. For the Weather Channel, Linda Bell with the Bloomberg Money Barometer.
Now let's get into the weekend, and of course we'll be watching Hurricane Isabel on Friday. By Saturday it'll be up into Canada and some dry weather moving in. It'll be actually very nice here in the Carolinas, into Virginia for Saturday. Sunday looking good too. We will watch a cold front moving eastward on Saturday. Sunday it moves into the plains, bringing the threat for thunderstorms here. But for the Ohio Valley, looking good here as Cincinnati, the Bengals taking on the Steelers on Sunday. Temperatures here will be in the 70s on Saturday and Sunday as well. 60s, though, coming in behind our front, cooling down.
We can't put Isabel behind us yet, though. Dennis Smith watching travel problems as a result of it.
Definitely making an impact today in New York. The winds will start to increase. A flood watch officially in effect for Philadelphia as well as Washington, D.C. Be careful for flooding, debris in the roadway over the next 24 hours.
All right, be careful, everyone. That's it for First Outlook.
Live coverage continues of Hurricane Isabel on your weather today. Stay tuned.
The Home Depot is more than a store. It's an opportunity to make your home look great. Right now at Home Depot or Expo Design Center.
It is the western part of the eye walls, very close to Morehead City, and the eastern part of the eye walls back over toward Cape Hatteras. So no doubt we are still looking at a big surge coming up toward Hatteras northward. Farther to the west, imagine there's a surge heading out the Pamlico River too as the wind drives that rain off to the west. As we look at the latest information on Isabel, 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Advisory. The hurricane was centered just 30 miles northeast of Cape Lookout. You saw the latest situation is now making landfall. Top sustained winds at 100. There was a gust to 105 a little while ago over toward Ocracoke, and it is now making its way off to the northwest at 18 miles per hour. Still, hurricane warnings are up from Cape Fear northward all the way up to Chincoteague, as well as on the Chesapeake side over towards Smith Point, as well as Albemarle and Pamlico Sounds.
Helping us track the storm, our meteorologist out in the thick of the storm, Jeff Morrow in Radio Island, North Carolina, and Bill Keneally in Ocean City, Maryland. Let's start with Jeff. Jeff, are conditions getting better or worse out there?
Well, about 10 minutes ago, Janetta, I would have said it was getting a little bit better, but wind started to pick up again here a little bit. As Rich mentioned, we are kind of on the western eye wall. It's still blowing pretty hard, but the wind is coming around more toward the northwest, I believe, and more and more as we head through the afternoon, we'll get more of a westerly component to it. It's still quite strong, at times gusting upwards of 60, 65 miles an hour. And earlier, when we were really embedded in that eye wall, as the eye was just passing us by to the east, we had winds up over 70 miles an hour and maybe up over hurricane force, blowing real hard in this area. We have had some reports of some flooding in what they call down east Carteret County, Cedar Island. Most of that island, the last time we heard, was underwater. But the good news here for Carteret County as a whole is that the flooding appears to be not all that bad, as the wind is mainly offshore with Isabel so far. But we're still taking a pretty good battering from it. There has been a lot of power outages, a lot of power lines down, and some sporadic reports of damage as well. I'm going to have my cameraman follow me quickly over here. This is just one piece of debris that was flying through the air at about 50 miles an hour that came through here just a minute ago. You don't want to get hit with stuff like that, so it's best to stay indoors at this point. Let's go up the beach just a little way, in fact a long ways, all the way up to Ocean City, Maryland, and Bill Keneally. Bill?
All right, Jeff, thanks a lot. Again, what a difference 300 miles makes. I watched that noon shot of yours, and I thought you'd lost it out there, buddy. That nearly knocked you down. I noticed that. Anyhow, behind me, I'm in a fortified bunker, by the way, an elevated bunker. Behind me, you can see our raging ocean out there. Tell you what, folks, you don't see the ocean here in Ocean City getting any rougher than that 9 times out of 10. We're talking 10-foot seas crashing in now. We're right at high tide. We've got a nice little dune set up here that they have fortified over the years, so it's holding that water back. It looks like the surge is probably on the order of about 4 feet here, but once again, the wind is still from the northeast, and if that system does what it should do, namely head up there, say, west of the Chesapeake, what will happen, our wind will have to turn all the way around, so it'll go clockwise. We're northeast now, eventually east, and then southeast, and that'll really pull the water in. So this high tide critical, the next one bad as well. That'll be about 2 o'clock in the morning. Reports of possibilities of maybe some overwash down by 40th and 60th Street. So we're going to check that out and report back over the next half hour. And again, Steve Lyons, I'm watching that wind increasing just ever so slowly. When will the closest pass to Hurricane Isabel be here in Ocean City?
Probably in another 12 hours or so, maybe a little bit less than that. But right now we're having another impact here within the sound area. Let's look at the latest satellite imagery here. Circulation center coming on shore here. The winds are offshore here, even in the eye wall, which is this band right here. But now the Albemarle Sound area, you're getting the northern eye wall, and the winds are coming out of the east there, driving some water up into here. So immediately, the next couple of hours in here, watch out for surge and rising water and flooding right in the Albemarle Sound area. Let me remove that there so you can see it a little bit better. Right there as the northern eye wall comes in. Once it goes out of the south, then it's not going to be so bad. But right now, the next 2 to 3 hours, that's a very bad area to be. Now, wind-wise, these are the sustained winds. We've been reporting some gusts to 105, but the sustained winds have been reported at 80. Out in this area, sustained winds of 40 could easily result in gusts to 60. That could easily cause tree branches to fall.
For us, not coming directly over us. We're not going to see the direct effects, but again, indirectly, still tropical storm force winds and a lot of rain out there. Let's take a look at the track and show you what we're going to be dealing with. Again, as this makes its way up toward the west, it will be to the west of us, actually closer to Pittsburgh than to Philadelphia. That will take most of the rain and some of the wind away from our area as well. It will then continue up as a tropical storm through parts of the Great Lakes and then out of our region. So what can we expect here locally? Well, down at the coast, 40 to 70 mile per hour winds. That does include Rehoboth Beach as well as the Cape May area. They've already reported winds around 60 miles per hour. 3 to 5 inches of rain. Ocean City, Maryland has already had 5.35 inches. And again, that rain is moving to the north, 10 to 15-foot waves. A little bit further inland, 3 to 5 inches of rain, 30 mile per hour winds with 60 mile per hour gusts. Again, that does include Chester County as well as Newcastle. Newcastle's already seen 1 to 2 inches of rain today, and more is likely. 1 to 3 to the north and east of the Philadelphia area, 20 mile per hour winds there. 50 mile per hour gusts. So we're going to be talking about this one throughout the night and tomorrow. Tomorrow, the word slight. That means a slight risk of severe weather tomorrow. As the storm moves to the north and then eventually toward the east, we're going to see the back edge of that, which could bring us some strong thunderstorms and maybe even the possibility of a couple tornadoes. But again, we'll have to wait and see about that one. Glenn?
Now I have the forecast for tonight. Rain heavy at times, gusty winds, generally 25-mile-an-hour winds, gusting up to 50. Temperatures fairly steady. The rain ends early tomorrow. We may have a break and then a late day or evening thunderstorm as the winds turn into the southeast at 25, gusting to 40 miles an hour. That's that slight risk of severe weather that Doug was talking about. So we do not expect it to rain all day tomorrow. As a matter of fact, the sun could possibly peak out and push us up to 80 degrees and feel real tropically humid and all. But there may be a tail end of some storms coming through later tomorrow.
Okay, but this is moving through fast.
It's moving through quickly, which helps a little bit, but it also keeps the winds up. The faster it moves, the less time it has to weaken.
Okay.
All right, check back with you later, Hurricane. Thank you.
No matter how near, no matter how far, the neighborhood, built by MCI, where you can make unlimited calls across the street and across the country for one low monthly price.
As Isabel continues inland, where will it head? Will you be affected? Find out the impact on your weekend and travel plans. We're tracking the storm with live coverage from the field.
Running 6 to 9 where there are no dunes to protect nothing.
And in-depth expert analysis.
East winds onshore.
Isabel coverage continues. Stay tuned to the Weather Channel as we keep you ahead of the storm. Stay tuned to the Weather Channel for continuing coverage of Hurricane Isabel right after your local on the 8s.
Currently, the temperature is 70 degrees under cloudy skies. Forecast for your area. Your extended forecast.
Take a look at this. The powerful winds and storm surge from Isabel are not a match for an SUV, and people should not be out on the roads. The Outer Banks has issued a mandatory evacuation. Some folks decided to ride out the storm. Probably sorry at this point. Hello and welcome to Weather Center. I'm Kristen Dodd.
I'm Vivian Brown. We continue to keep you updated on Hurricane Isabel. We are in storm alert mode here as the system has made its way onshore. Hurricane Isabel battered the North Carolina shoreline. Thousands are without power in North Carolina and Virginia. We have reports of flooding and wind damage. We have live crews along the East Coast to keep you updated on conditions. We have our very own Jim Cantori. He's in Kill Devil Hills, and Jeff Morrow, who's in Radio Island, North Carolina. Let's check in with Jim first in Kill Devil Hills. Jim, what's the latest there?
And Vivian, again, the wind's still up here in the tune of about 45 miles an hour or so. So they're slowly just trying to wind down, and they're not as steady as they were before. So Eventually, you'll get just like a little relaxation of the wind, and all of a sudden, it'll just kind of zip on through once again. We have had considerable beach erosion, as was predicted. No doubt that is going to be one of the huge stories here, as well as some of the problems with the wash over some of these roads. We're getting some new pictures in. We'll show you in a little while, too, of just some incredible flooding up toward Kitty Hawk. But I want to show you the pier at Nag's Head, which apparently, from what we heard, is still there. That's good news, even though I must say I have seen a few pylons roll by from time to time. Lord only knows where those things are from, and I would imagine somewhere on the Outer Banks, some pier losing some of those pylons. And for the most part, power is out everywhere the eye can see, and we have had some structural damage as well. Nothing major. I mean, no whole roofs off, but a lot of shingles, a chance for some of the water to get in some of these buildings for as far as the eye can see. But we got a chance to talk to the manager at the hotel, and she had this to say about the storm.
Well, we've been preparing for a couple of days, and we tried to prepare the hotel as best as we could. We've obviously stayed open, and with the camera and emergency crews here at the hotel, it did exactly what we expected. It's given us a pretty good beating. A lot of things to clean up, a lot of work to do, a lot of water in the facility, but we'll get it done.
Michelle here at the Holiday Inn has been absolutely great to us, as has her staff. Really, for all the media, this place is full of media. They're pretty much the only ones that are kind of hanging out here, or foolish enough to do so, if you will. Again, wind's still picking up out of the southwest, and that is bringing the wind right up the beach. And instead of rain, we got sand, and quite a good sand blasting going on right now. Well, let's head down the beach. Jeff Morrow standing by. Jeff, how's things going down there? Winds lightening up at all?
Yeah, they are, Jim. Actually, things have calmed down here a bit from what they were a little bit earlier today, to say the least. As a matter of fact, it was just raging here around the noon hour. We had winds. Now, I got to estimate here. I don't have any confirmed reports. The highest wind I measured on my anemometer was up around 67, 68 miles an hour in a gust, but it got a lot stronger than that. And it was too strong for me to actually stand out there with the anemometer and try to get a reading. But I have to estimate probably 80, maybe 90 miles an hour at its peak as the western eye wall moved on by. I want to show you what Beaufort looked like, or what it didn't look like here across the water. And indeed, you could barely see more than about 20 or 30 yards at the height of the storm as it came on by here. Again, just the air filled with spray and rainwater, and the wind was just driving everything sideways. Now, as we come back here live, you can see how visibility has improved greatly, and there actually the town appears across the water there. Again, it was just a dramatic change to a very low visibility of just a few yards at around noontime today at the height of Isabel as it came on in. So again, we have had some reports of some damage, a lot of trees down around Carteret County, a lot of power is still out, and we have a lot of flooding, particularly off Pamlico Sound up in Pamlico County, and also in down east Carteret County up towards Cedar Island. That's all we have from here, and let's hope it continues to calm down. We think it will for the rest of the evening. Back to Vivian and Kristen in the studio.
Okay, thank you very much, Jeff. Please stay safe out there, but thanks for your live reports from Radio Island, North Carolina. And Kristen, he mentioned that in his estimation, maybe the winds were gusting up to 90 miles an hour.
Absolutely amazing, tough to stand, and of course, not only for humans, but buildings. We've also had reports of a lot of structural damage as well. Now, here's the latest information as we take a look at the coordinates, and let's show you the radar now on Weather Pro 1, and we can show you what we do have. The rain continuing across the area, and we are looking at some pretty hefty rainfall totals coming in to portions of North Carolina and also into Virginia, and some of that rain now sweeping up into Atlantic City. Off and on rain bands will come sweeping across this area. We're also looking at Baltimore, D.C. here, and that heavy rain pulling across your area. Reagan National now closed down, as well as the Chesapeake Bay Bridge having shut down. Again, the latest coordinates, and now that Isabel is moving inland, we are still seeing some very strong winds whipping around this. It's going to be some time before it begins to weaken. We are looking at that projected path to head across Pennsylvania and eventually by tomorrow night enter New York State. And beyond just that center of circulation, though, it's going to have a wide-ranging effect as we are going to see those stronger winds pressing farther out from that area of circulation than just that one dot area. So the winds will be picking picking up even across New York City as we head into tomorrow.
Okay, keep it here. Tune to the Weather Channel.
On you. What's really interesting is there have been all sorts of things coming up this beach. I have seen telephone poles, transformers, parts of steps that basically take you up the dunes around here. And there is considerable beach erosion going on right now. Where we don't have the dunes up the road in Kitty Hawk, there is tremendous overwash, and that is going to continue as long as we have this surge and this onshore wind for the next couple of hours. We'll keep you posted here from Kill Devil Hills. Right now, this is meteorologist Jim Cantori throwing it back to you.
Well, as you see, that was Jim Cantori from earlier today at Kill Devil Hills, North Carolina.